Doc Sports presents. Football Release Party Live Event Thursday, August 21st.
Hey everyone, welcome to Doc's Football Release Party. I'm your host as always, Robert Ferrigno. Thank you for joining us. The picks just went live at Doc Sports 1 minute ago, so be sure to get your picks by email, log into the website, and get your bets down, people. There's some big plays that are going tonight on Thursday. I know Vernon Croy, Strike Point Sports, Arun, Shiva, all with top games, which you can find on the BPA, the Big Play Alert at Doc Sports when you log in. Be sure to like and subscribe this YouTube channel. If you enjoy this show and shows like it, click the bell, man. You will be alerted anytime a new show is on there. We got free picks. We got daily shows. We got a lot of analysis. This hour, we are going to have a lot of analysis, but I'm going to be completely honest with all of you out there. Anyone that is watching, and I want to, say thank you to the new members taking time out of your day. I'm not going to lie to any of you guys. I feel ill prepared for this. Okay. Like I've been typing up my plays for the last 5 hours. I've been making my plays. I have an extraordinarily large card for this football weekend. Some of the other handicappers, they're just kind of dipping their toe in. 2 plays, 3 plays, not me. I'm diving all in. I've had months to look at these lines, so my card is going to be a little bit larger than normal. But that's what I've been doing. My final decisions and final card weren't posted till about 20 minutes ago. So and that's how I operate. I work right up to the deadline. So I'm a little bit frazzled. The adrenaline is going because it's the first full college football weekend. So you'll have to excuse me if I miss some things. All right, we are going to get to our first guest in 1 second, but I got to do a little bit of house cleaning. Okay, down in the description below, there is that free 60 link that I talk about each week. Click on that. It'll take you to Doc Sports. It'll give you $60, same as cash, to use for any handicapper, any package, any sport. Nick Menken has his 8-unit WNBA Game of the Year going this evening. You can get that for free by clicking on that link and going to Doc Sports. Also, this week, because it's just college football, we won't have NFL for another 7 days. Next week will be the first full release of college football and NFL picks. Because it's only college this week, we have reduced the price of our weekly package. It is $45. All right, top games. Like I mentioned, those 3 guys have top games tonight. Those are $30 a piece. Or you can sign up for the full weekend with somebody for just $15 more and get their full card. Okay. Also, to sweeten the pot a little bit, we have a promo code for you guys that are watching. It's FB Party 15. And I got to talk to Guy. He is customer service. If you call in, again, we are old school like that. 55 years is our 55th football season. We're still old school where when you call into customer service, there's an actual person there to solve your problem. So when you call in there, or if you have ever called in and talked to Guy, I got to talk to him about some of these promos, okay? Because this is giving you 15% off that weekly package. So it's like 15%, 45. Don't worry, I did the math. It's $6.75 off for you. So now that weekly package is only $39 a piece. Combine that with the free 60 and you can figure it out from there. Okay, that's enough of all that nonsense. I'll get into more nonsense as we go. I want to get right to our first guest. We have Raphael Esparza that is with us. For the uninitiated, what's up, Raphael? For the uninitiated, Raphael and I also do a Friday show, What Are the Odds, where we kind of deep dive. It's real numbersy, kind of dorky, like we really get into the minutia of line movements, betting percentages, and just kind of the nuts and bolts. So if that's your kind of thing, if you like the nerdy aspect of sports and the numbers aspect, we do that on Friday. Raphael, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. You're all frazzled. I'm just nice and relaxed because people know me. Once you hit the submit button, once you hit the enter button, it's out of our hands. There's nothing we can do if you play 2 games or 100 games. Yeah. It's over with. It is 100% over with. I can't get mad if I lose. I'm not going to do backflips if I win because it's the next day. So me and you are totally opposite on Thursdays, and it's kind of funny to see you all frazzled. But you're nicely clean shaven today. Look at you. Look at all you clean shaven baby face.
Just for you, sweetness. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference of us as humans, right? It's no different us putting in our plays and us getting our bets down. Is that feeling when you put your money up at the window or, you enter the bet on your phone or however you do your betting, you're down, you got your action, you're locked in. And then it's like, yeah, now there's nothing you can do. We got to just sit back and let things play out. Right. Like, but for me, I don't take solace or ease in that. I'm on fire. Like right now it's killing me. I'm glad I'm not watching the Boise State South Florida game. I don't want to know what's going on. Don't tell me what's going on because it might make me pop. Now, listen, we're going to get into college football in un momento. But first, we got to talk about like the bigger news. I'm sitting here trying to type up and post my plays and stuff like that, and my phone starts blowing up. If you don't know, Micah Parsons got traded. Okay, huge deal in the NFL. Raphael, you and I, there will be plenty of talking heads to talk about like Jerry Jones and should they have done it. And I don't care about any of that. I care about betting. I care about numbers. Has this trade already impacted any of the spreads for next week games, or maybe even some of the futures bets? And what do you anticipate happening over the next few days?
The spread for next week's games, no, because we pretty much all knew if he was going to play maybe 20% of the snaps, wasn't going to do anything. So next week's games, no. But Super Bowl and conference, yes. It was floating around anywhere from 18-1, 17-1 to win the Super Bowl. Now, DraftKings has 14-1. I have them written down. And BetMGM has 13-1. I've seen as low as plus 1250.
What was it before?
Offshore.
What were they before?
18-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, so not a shift, but a shift.
Yeah, but now the NFC AFC conference, this is what tells you what bettors are doing. They're swinging for the fences for the Super Bowl because of the bigger number. Mm-hmm. But for a conference, it's not that big of a line move. It opened up around 850. I've seen as high. DraftKings now has 750. BetMGM has plus 650. So not that big of a significant line movement because, again, the bettors always think of the big ship first. Whether there's a big trade or a big injury, they go straight to the big ship. Super Bowl, NCAA tournament, World Series, they always go to the big one first. I think that's why they adjusted the numbers a little bit different than that.
That Detroit Green Bay number didn't move. I thought it was 1.5. Has that been solid 2.5?
It's been a solid 2.5. Again, he wasn't going to play or start this week.
And he probably won't play next week, or if he does, play minimally, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe they unleash him for some special packages, but you know how bettors are. Bettors are reactive rather than proactive, right? So do you anticipate that number moving to 3? That would be a significant movement from Green Bay minus 2.5 to 3. And do you also anticipate just a flood of people betting against Dallas now because of this? Now, to your point, he probably wasn't going to play anyway, but that's not how the market works. That's not how betting brain works. People are going to bet against the Cowboys because they don't like the trade. Do you anticipate that number against Philadelphia moving off the 7 to 7.5? Do you see an 8 coming up in that game?
I'll dissect the Green Bay game. It moved a nickel on the juice. Okay. When the trade happened, went from 205 to 210 on that game. Now the other game, I think people will probably want to fade Dallas because what is Dallas going to do? But are the sharps going to do it? Yes, me, you, $50, $100, $200 bettors. Yes, they may do that, but are the sharp players going to do that to move the number for what we want to look at, either fade or go against? That's two different scenarios.
So, okay, I think the numbers are going to move. I'm going to say that right now. I think both numbers are going to move. I think Green Bay is going to get to -3. I think that that number is going to get to at least 7.5. I would not be surprised to see that number -8 by kickoff. Now, I am not saying that's warranted. I'm not saying that that's a good reaction to the trade in the short term. But I'm just telling you, if you like Green Bay right now, if you liked them, which I did before this trade, Green Bay was going to be on my card next week. That part of it is like I'm kind of fading Detroit early. But as soon as I saw that trade, I went and put my bet in because I think that number is going to move.
If it moves, it could have moved just because it's the afternoon game and not because of the trade. So I really, now if it moves to 3.5, 4, then I think, okay, a lot of these bettors think, okay, Parsons is playing a lot, momentum. But if it moves to 3, it's because it's an afternoon game and people are chasing from the Thursday game, the Friday game, the morning of Sunday games. They may be chasing that one. So I'm looking for a significant move like 3.5 or higher, not just a 3.
All right, let's get right into it with college football and the here and now of this weekend.
You want to know score the Boise State game right now or no?
No, because it's just going to piss me off. Either way, I'm just going to get mad. I'm going to get even more rattled than I am.
I'm trying to middle this game. I have +9 and -4. Can I at least say that?
It was killing me how high that number was and how much it came down. It's a whole other conversation. I loved the value of it this summer more than
we talked about that like a month ago about that
yes.
game. So yeah.
Yes, again, Fred, Josh Barbero, Silver Fox 864, Brook Tree Service LLC, X Big Papa, all of you, welcome to the party. These are all new members. Guys, if you guys have any questions, any comments, any games that you want us to talk about, feel free to drop them in the comments. We may or may not be able to get to them, but I want this to be kind of an interactive experience as I bring in all these Docs handicappers over the next hour. I guess I should have led with that's what we're doing for this hour, is just breaking it down with Doc Sports Handicapper. All right, we're going to dive right into the number one game of the week, Texas-Ohio State. Okay? You know all the details. We know about Arch. We know about the freshman quarterback for Ohio State, Julian Sayin. We know that this is the first time ever that the number one team in the country, the preseason number one, is a road underdog. We also know that number has done nothing but come down. Talk to me about everything from your perspective, from where that number started, where it's moving, and just what's going on. Let's talk numbers first, then we'll talk matchup.
First, I hate when the number one team is an underdog. Who cares what that number is next to you, especially during the preseason? I am tired of that one, but I'm a little bit shocked at the big swing. I mean, it's one. What's it going to be before kickoff? A stupid kickoff at noon, but it's going to be very interesting to see how much Texas money comes in. I was really. I'll say this right now. I'll say this right now. This was a late scratch on my card. I was almost going to have 4 games on my card, but I went with 3. I'm a wuss, not like Ferrigno who has 1,000. I only have 3 on my card. This was a late scratch. I wanted to pull the trigger on Texas, but at the same time, the only team that goes to shoe lately that's won is Michigan. And what is Manning going to do with all this pressure? His first game at the shoe. I just couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Okay, so that number has come down mainly because, in your opinion, is it mainly because of sharp money? Is it mainly because everybody and their sister money? Or is it mainly just like Texas money has been so flush all summer? Again, sportsbook directors have said by far their biggest liability on winning the national championship is Texas. They have almost taken more money on Texas to win the national championship than like the next or another 100 teams combined. Is this just more what we've been seeing all summer, like just dumb Texas money flooding in on the Longhorns? Is this sharp money? Is this public money? Like, what's going on with what's pushing this number down?
Well, me and you can agree, not that much sharp money comes out on futures. Game-wise, yes, futures not that much. Now, it might be Matthew McConaughey and Mattress Max money coming in on the futures, but I highly doubt it. Now, for the game itself, early, sharp money. Now it's just piggyback money. Everyone knows, so-and-so bet this, I'm going to bet. I don't care what the number is right now. So it's a little bit of both Texas money and copycat money because the Sharps took this early when it was, 3 when it opened up? Yeah. Ohio State -3. So I think that came in a little bit earlier.
So drill down on this for me. Why did you like why did you like Texas?
There's new coordinators at Ohio State. They lost so many players last year, and they have a quarterback that is wet between the ears as well. At least Manning had some experience last year, so he has a little bit more game time than this Sade kid. So, again, I couldn't do it. I just could not do it because Ohio State always screws me. They screwed me when I worked at MGM because I had to hear their fans at 9 in the morning, and it would probably screw me again today. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and watch it.
Home field advantage? Do you feel like that? Do you feel like especially early in the season that plays a bigger role? Do you feel like it plays a role later? Like how much credit are you giving Ohio State for just being in the shoe and just the intimidating area that is? They don't lose at home very often, no matter who it is.
Yeah, I think that's a big intimidation. And then the time. Yes, Texas does play that game, but they only play Oklahoma at that time frame. They're usually playing afternoon and evening games. But I think the time and the place where they're going could be something serious for them.
4 of the best games this weekend feature are on campus. They're not neutral site games. Okay. So we have to handicap and factor in that home field advantage and how much it's really worth to us. We got Ohio State. We have LSU at Clemson. We have Auburn at Baylor, which is a sneaky huge game for a lot of different reasons. And we have Notre Dame at Miami. Okay. 2 home dogs. And now with Ohio State being at like 1, a token home favorite, again, are they not giving enough credit to home field advantage early on? How does that play into like your handicapping when you're looking at these games? Like walk me through the home field edge in some of these monster games.
Well, week 1 and week 2, you just look at teams. I mean, you look at who's more experienced team than who's not. Yes, a transfer portal could be great, but you're still wet behind the ears playing against a guy you just learned his last name a couple of weeks ago. So I look for experience right away, and I think the bettors do as well. If you look at some of these matchups, you have experience on one team and then another team that has a whole bunch of transfer portals where the money's coming in on experience and stuff like that. So I look at that, and I think the bettors also look at that probably for the first couple of weeks.
Okay, what about a game that wasn't or isn't a marquee game, or maybe doesn't have big names in it or something like that? Is there like a mid-major or under the radar game, or maybe, it's Power 4 teams, but like ones that people aren't talking about? Like, was there kind of a sneaky game that caught your eye this week?
What about the one today? I mean, Nebraska, Cincinnati. I mean, everyone, I talked to a gazillion people, and not one person said, hey, I like the Bearcats today.
I know.
Well, me and you talked about this, and me and Lenny talked about this as well. If you talked to 100 people in Vegas or in New Jersey or in Texas, who do you like in this game? Oh, Nebraska. Do they think this game is in Nebraska? No, because it's not in Nebraska. So I'm still waiting. If it goes to 7, I'm glad it's a 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. I didn't put this on my card because I did not want to put 6.5, knowing maybe a half hour before kickoff I could get 7. So I just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to increase my wallet and not units because I don't want to give out a bad number. So I'm hoping it goes 7 because I'm definitely going to jump on the Bearcats.
I like Cincinnati in this game. I released it as a play. It is on. I got a lot of plays on my card, but it's one of them. For me, Nebraska, there's a lot of teams this week and this weekend that I wanted to bet on or against before the market caught up to them. And there's a lot of people that's like, look, you got to prove it. I'm going to put my money up until Nebraska can prove it to me that they can beat good teams, win close games, things like that. Nebraska games are either they blow somebody out or they lose a close game, right? Like they got to prove it to me. Same reason that I use TCU. I like TCU. I know Bill Belichick's a great coach. I get it. I completely understand. He's the greatest of all time. I got to see it with this team. They have 70 new players. They have to prove it to me against the small number, and that's how I feel about Nebraska. Are you buying them as kind of a quasi Big Ten sleeper? Maybe Dylan Raiola makes that jump. Like, what are your thoughts on Nebraska in this game, but also just in general?
Well, we dissect this the Big Ten earlier. No, I'm not buying Nebraska. I'd rather buy Illinois, Iowa than I'm buying Nebraska. At least Illinois and Iowa has shown me some stuff. Nebraska year after year, unless it's 1990. I'll buy Nebraska, but right now it's not 1990, so they have to prove it to me as well. So, again, Arrowhead's a tricky place, too. Don't forget the Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years ago and drove the bus around there, so maybe Cincinnati would do the same thing.
Our very own Tony George, I believe, is in a box at Arrowhead right now watching that Nebraska-Cincinnati. Anybody that's followed Tony over the years knows he's a big Nebraska fan, so that's why he's there.
And Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's a both fan of both teams.
That's why he's there instead of being here with us. I think he's going to be here for the football release party next week. Somebody else that is with us is Nolan Patrick of Strike Point Sports. Can we get him in there? There he is. There's the guy. there he is. We got Mr. Saturday with us right here. So we were just talking about Cincinnati, Nebraska. Any thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, love Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati in this game. I'm not rolling with the fake Patrick Mahomes out there in Nebraska. Guy wants to be Patrick Mahomes. He looks just like Patrick Mahomes, dresses like Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to do the opposite and possibly lose his first game to the Bearcats tonight.
So we were also talking about that Ohio State-Texas line. How much are you factoring in? Like, What do you think of the line movement? What do you think of why that line is coming down? And how much are you factoring in home field advantage in this game?
You might want to skip me on this one because I have a 7-unit play in this game.
Okay,
so
guys.
I don't really want to give out. I mean, obviously, I noticed the line movement. I think that, just something that can be said is stability. I heard Raphael talking about it. Obviously, home field advantage is a big thing, especially in Ohio State. 103,000 people can be there. You look at it, though, there's that Texas has a bit more stability with the offensive and defensive coordinators coming back. Ohio State lost a lot of guys, but with Ohio State, they could have arguably the best offensive and defensive player in the country on their team. So I think there's a lot of things that you have to factor in. The transfer portal has a huge impact on home field advantage early in the season. It's not as defined until later in the season, in my opinion.
Raphael, do you want to say, before I let you go, do you want to say what game you're do you have a 5-unit play, a 7-unit play? What's your big play this weekend?
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Late night. So take a nap. So
7-unit play?
Yeah.
7-unit play, Saturday night, $30. Use the link below, the free 60 link below, and you can get hooked up with both of these guys' 7-unit plays. Raphael, good luck. Thank you for taking some time to join us.
Take it easy, guys. Have a great weekend.
Okay, so you mentioned about the transfer portal impacting home field advantage early on in the season. That's something I haven't thought about really, but it kind of makes sense, right? Like these guys aren't used to their surroundings any more than the opponents are used to their surroundings. But I was talking about it with Raphael that it is interesting that 4 of the biggest games this weekend are on-campus games. And in them, it feels like home field advantage isn't being factored in very much to the line. Miami is a home underdog. Baylor is a home underdog. Ohio State is a kind of a token favorite. And Clemson is, they're -3.5, but you figure the standard is 3 points for home field advantage. So that's pretty easy too. So again, walk me through what you think the impact of being on campus and having that home crowd behind you is going to make in some of those games.
Sure. The one thing, though, is I'm a bit confused. Aren't we talking football, real football? Aren't we going to talk football? Manchester? Are we talking Manchester United and Grimsby Town from the other day? Is that no? But so the transfer portal is huge because you got to remember, these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that have transferred to these schools. They've been on campus for, not a ton, a long amount of time. You take somebody that maybe transferred from a Midwest state to Miami, even the weather that they're now playing in, they're not used to humidity. They're not used to high temperatures. They might not used to be playing in a stadium as crazy as Ohio State. So, these are kids going from something they might have been comfortable to, now they're in this situation, going through the transfer portal, being in a big game that they maybe never thought they would be in. And so I think it takes a lot of these players time to acclimate to their new surroundings. So that's why I think that the books aren't necessarily putting a ton of value on home field in week 1 here.
Okay. My producer, Detroit Lenny, made a great point over in the comments. If you don't hit the like button on this, you will lose your bets today. That's a fact. That's been scientifically proven. I also want to take a moment to mention that right now we are still offering full season packages at Docs for the early bird rate of $749. Okay, $749. That gets you locked in with a handicapper till the Super Bowl. You are getting 6 months worth of picks for a unbelievably discounted price. You can use that free 60 down below in the description towards that to knock it down even more. This is my 20th year with Doc Sports. We have not changed our prices in 20 years. So people talk about inflation. People talk about all these things with money. Docs is still keeping it old school. So go ahead and get yourself signed up. So, all right, Nolan, I had a surprise. It's going to shock you. I had a large card this weekend. A lot of games on this card, right? I know. But part of it is I've been staring at this board for 2 months. I start my prep early in July, late in June, early in July. So I've been breaking down these games, these teams, these numbers, watching them move for months, right? Take me through your preparation for like a week like this and early in the season. Are you more of a, okay, I'm gonna watch these and scan these lines for weeks kind of guy? Or are you like, all right, it is now Tuesday of the first week. I got to have these plays in 2 weeks. What are we doing? And then use your opinion there.
Yeah, Strike Point Sports, me in general, I have small cards. It's typically what I do. I usually release 3 or 4 college plays and 3 or 4 NFL plays. But during this first week, obviously, like you, I've had a lot of prep, and it's this first week. I never get nervous about it, but there are a lot of games that I like, but I really have to narrow them down. So I actually had 7, 8, 9 games rated on a card, and then I just slowly start to take games away because I'm the type of batter that likes to find 3 or 4, focus on those games, and those are the games that I know I'm going to win. Those are the games that I see the most value. Those are the games I like. I know that you are a larger card kind of guy, and obviously nothing wrong with that. You've had great success over the years. I'm just a lot more picky with what I release. So yeah, I've put in, weeks of time. What I did is probably 3 weeks ago, saw lines that I liked, circled games that I liked, and then just watched what happened with the lines, watched where they went, watched week 0 games, saw how teams played, saw if I was right with a lot of those lines. And then, I go from there, but I have three or 4 games on my card this week, small, a 5 unit, a 7 unit, and a 3, maybe 2, 3 units. And I really like the card.
All right, I love asking this. Give me one of the ones that you cut. What was one of the games that you were looking at hard and you decided not to? And give me your thoughts on it.
I have two. I really wanted to pull the trigger on Arizona, but that line went from, I think, Arizona minus 10.5 to minus 17.5. Obviously, that's because Hawaii's dealing with a quarterback injury after that first game, but that was the biggest game Hawaii's played in years. They beat a Power 5 team. Now, don't take that for what it's worth. Stanford stinks, but it's still a Power 5 team. Hawaii put everything they could into that game to come back and win. This has let down city written all over it. But then in the end, Arizona just wasn't a great against the spread team last year. And now the spread 17.5. So I pulled it at the last second. And then another one that I pulled was Northwestern. I really wanted to take Northwestern over Tulane, the Green Wave. Tulane, I think, is going to be a better team at the end of the season. But I liked Northwestern in this spot plus the points. I felt like they were going to muck it up in a game that was going to be really humid in New Orleans. But then in the end, something about that game pulled me off. So Northwestern and Arizona, I was going to be on both, and I'm on neither.
Weird line movement in that game, don't you think? Like you got the reverse line movement with majority action on Tulane. Tulane's been so good and such an overachiever over the last few years. Do you think it's because people think Tulane is getting overvalued? Because didn't their line open near 10 or something like that? It was like 8.5, 9, somewhere around there. And then it slowly kind of come down, hit 7 and stayed at 7 for a while. And then just in the last 10 days, got 6, got to 5.5. I'm seeing some 5s out there. Do you think that is a reaction to Tulane, who's been phenomenal against the spread over the last 3 years, by the way, that they are now getting overvalued by the market and there's kind of a market correction there? Or do you think people think that maybe Northwestern is going to be a little bit better than people think this year?
I think it's a little of both. I definitely think Northwestern is going to be better this year. I think they're going to be better on both sides of the football. I think that they're going to be able to run the football a little bit better than they did last year, bringing back last year's running back. And I think that I just think that there's going to be value on Northwestern early. What's his name in Tulane? The QB, is it Retzlaff? He just came to Tulane.
Yeah. Did they name him the starter?
I believe so. Yeah.
They had like a 4-man quarterback battle, and he was the last guy to get there. So I'm surprised that he kind of won it.
Yeah, I believe that he's going to start, and he's good. He's a good quarterback, but Tulane doesn't have a ton of weapons in the wide receiver room. So I think in the end that people have seen that Northwestern's going to be better defensively and better offensively, and they're the type of team that's just going to go muck it up. And so with the line being as high as it was, why would you not grab Northwestern plus 9.5 points when it opened. And I think more and more people kept doing that, and the line just kept dropping further and further and further.
Yeah, there are two teams that I just don't like either one of them. Northwestern, I'm still not high on. I get it. Like, they went through so much when I can't think of his name. I should know his name. Pat Fitzgerald. That whole drama when he got let go, and then the team basically gets dumped in David Braun's lap. So they've been in it for the last couple of years. They've been dealing with some stuff. But I think Pat Fitzgerald was a special coach. Like, what he was able to do and the way he was able to keep Northwestern competitive. I just don't expect the next guy to come in and be able to do that. Just like Harbaugh did at Stanford, right? And then David Shaw a little bit. And now we look at Stanford, what a mess they are. I'm kind of anticipating like a 5-year just slop fest of Northwestern. So I don't like them. And as I mentioned, like, Tulane has just kind of been an overachiever these last few years. Eventually, that market is going to correct itself. Okay, What was a game this week that you saw that you were just like, hell no, I'm not going anywhere near it? I'm kind of interested in it. Maybe, like, I want to know who's going to win. It's kind of a good game, but I absolutely wouldn't put $1 on this game.
There's two of them. I wouldn't touch Notre Dame and Miami with a 10-foot pole. Same kind of thing. Just interesting weather. Two really, really good teams. You know, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy that game. And I know a lot of people, especially the public, they want they want the professionals, they want the pundits to tell them who's going to win this game. But Clemson and LSU, I mean, there's just so many storylines there. You know, like, I'm an ACC guy. But, you know, let's go orange. I want my Syracuse orange. I'm an ACC guy, so I want to say I'm buying into Clemson this year. I think they're back. I think they're going to be a good team. LSU, their quarterback is outstanding. You know, defensively, they're outstanding. They got a lot of guys that are going to play in the NFL. Chip Kelly is awful in week 1. Any of you guys out there that know that, he's 0-3 week 1. So there's just so many great storylines there. But
Brian Kelly.
not Chip Kelly. Brian Kelly.
Awful at life and in general, but Brian Kelly. I'm sure Chip Kelly's bad in week 1 too.
But now that line's 3.5. So nope, I'm going nowhere near those two marquee games.
All right, I see you're repping the Akron sweatshirt there. Buddy of ours was the interim AD there for a little bit. I had a conversation earlier on Docs Daily, which those of you that are watching, if you don't know, every day Docs Daily at 1 p.m. Eastern time, similar type of show, breaking down a lot of games, stuff like that. Talking about the MAC this weekend. I know it's random to hit you up on this, but like, what are your thoughts on, like, are there any smaller conference teams or mid-majors that you think are primed for an upset or that you think offer a lot of value as an underdog this week? Because I think the MAC is going to get smoked this weekend by a lot of teams. A lot of their best teams lost a lot of players, a lot of turnover there. But were there any underdogs from any of the smaller conferences that you were kind of interested in this weekend?
It's actually interesting that you just said that, because I was looking at the chat and Rodney Ferguson just asked any thoughts on Toledo upsetting Kentucky. And earlier, any of you that get the Doc Sports newsletter that we release, I actually released Toledo as a free play in that newsletter. I like Toledo plus the points. And then any of you that check out, obviously, if you're here, you check out the Doc Sports YouTube page. I released a free play on the Doc Sports YouTube page on Buffalo plus the points over Minnesota as well. So I like Toledo and Buffalo to cover the lines.
What was it about Buffalo that you thought?
Not a lot of people out there will realize this, but Buffalo is outstanding defensively. They have, obviously, they're a smaller school. Their defense is, if they had a bigger name, you would be talking about that defense as a really, really good Power 5 defense. They're athletic, they're fast, they get after the quarterback. I think that's the type of team that I'm going to be on a few times this year, because they're going to come up against some teams that just aren't really that good offensively, and that Buffalo defense is going to cause havoc for a lot of teams.
I mean, Khalil Mack's alma mater right there, the Buffalo Bulls. I mean, can't not be great at defense if Khalil Mack went to your school. All right, I want to bring in our next handicapper to get rapping with us. We have Arun Shiva. Is the Indian Cowboy on the board? Lenny, can we get him in here? There he is. There he
boy.
is, folks. He's out in the wilderness, folks.
He's one with nature.
Yes,
I am a cowboy.
What's going on here? Are we on a balcony? Like, are you hiding from your neighbors? Like, did you expose yourself to someone again, Arun?
I just hitched my horse. I mean, this is how I ride my horse. I wear a shirt and a tie, and I ride a horse, and I go hitch it from place to place. Luckily, I put a chip in my horse, so it has obviously a mobile internet. So, that's how I roll, man. With the shirt and tie on a horseback.
Nolan and I were just talking about games that we looked at on the board that we were just like, hell no. I like that game. I may watch it. I'm interested, but there's no way I'd put $1 on either one of those two teams. You mentioned the LSU Clemson. You mentioned the Notre Dame Miami. Was there any games on the board that you just instantly threw out? You're like, I kind of like I want to watch that game. I'm kind of interested in that game, but there's no way I would ever bet that game.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. I really like Texas. I mean, I wanted to take Texas because I think it's time for Texas to step up. And I think Texas is pissed. They have their revenge. And if you follow Arch, it's interesting, right? Peyton Manning obviously was phenomenal, and Eli was phenomenal, but it's the son of the guy that didn't.
Hold on. Eli wasn't phenomenal. He was okay. He's a Giants fan. He loves Eli. He's the worst.
You win 2 Super Bowls. The point is, he made it to an NFL quarterback, right? And which is very, very hard to do. And you have the third brother who is not athletically inclined, and he's the one that produces the offspring of Arch Manning. And if you like Arch, he goes to the hood, and he doesn't go to the hood for people like trying to, hopefully that people will try to TikTok him or put him in a reel or something. He genuinely goes to the hood all the time. He throws the ball with the kids all the time. He goes to the barbershop all the time. Like, guys really get up to play for Archie. Like, he's a very high character type of person, and the whole Manning family is. But the fact that these guys will get up to play for him, he could have left 2 years ago. He could have gone anywhere. And he was like, nope, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to, obviously that, Quinn Ewers is doing pretty well at Miami, not well in the first game of the preseason, but he, did pretty well. He decided to sit back and try to learn from him. He decided to have a college experience, right? Really smart guy because he had a college experience. He learned. And I think these Texas guys will get up to play him. I also think Ohio State took a huge, I think it was Ryan Day's 8th season in Ohio State. You know what I mean? I think he got a big monkey off his back, which is great. So I don't think they get up for this game as much. Once you win that title, Texas is hungry from that loss. But at the same time, funny things happen in Ohio State. Funny calls, funny things happen. So I didn't want to touch the game. But that's why I like Texas. They have their revenge. They have a quarterback who's seasoned. And I think Sarkisian, I've been to so many Alabama games. I think he's ready to sort of kind of take that leap. Not the leap like, oh, as long as we're in the top 5, I feel good about myself. But like, hey, I think we're the top dog. And I think he's going to say that you guys are getting totally disrespected by being an underdog, the only underdog ever to be the number one, right? To be ranked number 1 in the country. And I think he's going to get him up. Why else would Texas be now? Now I think they're only a 1-point dog. Like, why not put Ohio State as a 3.5-point dog, right? Given what Ohio State's success has been. So I like Texas. So
that's where your 7-unit play is on Saturday, right? The 7 strike point sports 7-unit play is Texas, Ohio State. The noon game, you can find that at Doc Sports. You can use that free 60 link below to get $60 free and get that play for free. But he loves it, folks, and he is Mr. Saturday, so keep an eye out. So, hey, thank you very much for taking your time, Nolan. You'll be back next week, and good luck this weekend.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you.
All right, Arun, you mentioned Sarkisian, and I mean, check the watch. It didn't take you long to mention Alabama,
which
I know is your team.
Over under on the minutes on that,
right? So, like, again, all these big games, Texas, Ohio State, Miami, like in normal years, I feel like the Alabama-Florida State game would be getting a lot more attention than it is, both nationally and from a betting perspective. Big number, as we know, and that number is even creeping up a little bit from 13.5 to a solid 14. So set your Alabama bias aside for a second and break down why you don't think that game is getting more attention, and what do you think of both teams in the number?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Alabama fan base, I've been very pleased with how much they've been patient for a guy's first year, right? I thought he did pretty well in his first year, to be honest with you. Losing to Michigan.
Yes! He won 9 games. They beat Georgia. Like, they had a great season last year.
They had a fantastic season. And for Kalen DeBoer, now his type of prototype of player is very different from what Nick Saban has, right? So he needs to bring his guys in. But losing to Michigan, 13-19, granted, I think they were like a 16.5-point favorite coming in. Losing to that game, I think that really stings people the wrong way. Losing to Oklahoma really stung people the wrong way. Losing that game as well. And obviously losing the Vandy game. So those 3 games, losing to Vandy, Oklahoma in a game that they never should have lost, and then losing to Michigan. The Michigan game is unfair because I thought Michigan played really well to close out last year. But look, Alabama
more to them than it did to Alabama, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a bad spot for Alabama. But Alabama has Ty Simpson, and I think he is a much different kind of quarterback than Jalen Milroe. You can't sit. I think Ty Simpson's better than Jalen Milroe, but you can't sit out Jalen Milroe. You just can't do it when he's led you for that long. So I think Ty Simpson is a very good quarterback. I think you got Washington, and I think you got Young in the backfield. I think Alabama returned 7 total starters on offense. They returned 6 on defense, which for Kalen DeBoer is pretty good. FSU, they returned 6 on offense and 5 on defense. But I'm not a fan of. I think Alabama has. I know the FSU coach has a lot on the line, but keep in mind that Alabama, when they opened up against Western Kentucky last year, they won like 63-0. Okay, so this is a team that's going to be primed. They're going to be ready to go, and they've, there are very high expectations. And this is the best quarterback. Obviously, it's been 1 year, but this is the best quarterback he's had. And Ty Simpson was with him last year, so he's been with DeBoer, right? So he's got 6 defensive players. He brought a ton in the portal. And I think the reason why it doesn't get as much attention is because no one cares about FSU anymore. No one cares about Alabama as much anymore right now. Texas is kind of supplanted them as far as the attention. Ohio State's getting the attention. Penn State's getting the attention. These are all programs that are getting much more attention than Alabama now. So I think people are like, Alabama's sort of like your backup game, right? It's like if you miss at the bar on this girl, you go get up this girl kind of thing. Alabama's that backup thing where they're not really excited. But I think as time goes on, and I think Simpson's a really good quarterback. I think as time goes on, people are going to start to realize, and you give Kalen DeBoer some time, I think he's going to do really, really good things there. But,
hold on. We talked about home field advantage and how I feel like that isn't playing as much into some of these lines. Like Miami is a home underdog. Okay. Baylor is a home underdog to Auburn, which was a little bit of a surprise. That game is being played on campus. Clemson is only -3.5. And you get 3 points basically for home field advantage. So you're saying that's an even game. Looking at this Florida State game, does that worry you at all? Like this number seems awful thick. Like don't you think that maybe more credit should be given to Florida State, who let's be fair, 2 years ago they were unbelievable, got screwed out of making the playoffs, might have been the best team in the country. Last year they were a complete and total joke. They quit on the season after they lost some early games. This year, we kind of don't know what to expect from them because of their reliance on the transfer portal and bringing in all of that fresh talent. So we kind of don't know about Florida State. So should we proceed with caution in this game since we have a team we don't know getting a lot of points at home? Or is this just no, Alabama just dominates and blows them off the ball?
Keep in mind that, this game I think is played this game is being played at 3:30 in the afternoon. I think FSU at night is a different animal than FSU in the daytime, number one. Number two, it's the situation that matters, right? Like the Clemson LSU situation. First of all, Kelly is horrible on season openers. But the second of all, Clemson got throttled by Georgia, if you remember the first season game last year.
Yes.
And then they made a great run at it, and they came back. So they remember getting throttled. So, and I think Clemson was absolutely going to get up to play an SEC team. Speaking of another game that I didn't want to touch, that was another game I didn't want to touch. You have Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, who hasn't won in ages, right, in his opening game. You have Dabo, who got throttled in his first game last year. So both these teams are super motivated. Dabo always gets to face up the SEC team. He gets up to face them because he's mad that Alabama didn't hire him. And Dabo was always sore about that. He was on that list, but Alabama did not hire him. They went past him. And I think that made him upset. So as far as home field advantage otherwise, I mean, you can take a look. I think home dogs are interesting. I think this South Florida game against Boise State, right? When you have those type of home dogs and they're probably hanging tough against them. That plus 5.5 type dog. I think those are the dogs that you kind of look into a little bit. Those tight home field, those tight home dogs, etc. But
did you see anybody? Did anybody jump out at you this week? What home dog or just underdog in general that you were like, oh, that's my kind of game right here. I know you love an ugly dog. You love an ugly dog. Was there anybody that jumped out at you?
I actually looked. I thought Stony Brook wasn't that bad, but until I saw Stony Brook actually has a really good coach, and I really, really liked UNLV, right? UNLV has a coach who went 3-9, I think, last year. But they have the number one recruit, Malachi, who's the quarterback this year. And that is the reason why UNLV is only a plus 5.5 point dog to Bronco Mendenhall's Utah State game, right? So they're only a plus 5.5 point dog. You know why?
Actually, I think you're off there because UNLV, I believe, is favored this week with Dan Mullen.
Hold on a second.
Utah.
Sorry, I meant UTEP. I take it back.
UTEP. Yeah, there you go.
UTEP plus 5.5 point dog because Utah. So Malachi plays for UTEP. They're a 5.5 point dog. He's their number one. He was the number one recruit a couple of years ago. Utah State returns, I think, the least amount of starters out of anyone else in the country at 3, maybe 2 on offense, 1 on defense. And I think that's why that total is so high, because it takes a while for these defenses sort of to gel. But these offenses, and I think that's going to be, a pretty high scoring game. I loved them as a plus 5.5 point dog. I thought they were going to be really good. I thought not a dog, but Wyoming on the road, speaking of home field advantage, Wyoming's coach, I think, went 3-9 last year. They're going to be so much better this year, dude. They're going to be, when you were talking about the MAC teams, they're going to be so much better. Wyoming had raw wins was not there, but this is a team in their first year coach. This team beat Washington State 15-14 to close out last year. They're an 18-point dog. They almost beat Boise State. They lost 13-17. I think they're like a 20-point dog coming in. This is a team that they almost beat Utah State, right? Before Utah State got, taken away with so many guys being taken away from them. But I thought that was a game that I almost pulled the trigger on. I really liked Wyoming tonight, minus the 5.5, because that team was much better than the 3-9 team, and they closed really well. I thought the Miners, UTEP plus 5.5 was good. I think they have a really good coach that's undervalued. And I thought Stony Brook wasn't that bad at all. I think that's something to take a look at, but there were other games that I really looked into too. Like, I'm excited about Deshaun Jackson, right? Coaching for Delaware State. But Delaware also has like 17 returning starters. So that's pretty scary too. And I'm excited about Eddie George, right? Bowling Green State. He's now the head coach over there. So that's pretty exciting. I think they opened up with a touchdown. I think Deion Sanders sort of started this trend that your life is not over once your playing days are over. You can go back and coach places, right? So Eddie George is now coaching. Deshaun Jackson is now coaching. Michael Vick is now part of a program.
Deshaun Foster at UCLA is another one. So, okay. So it's funny that you mentioned Wyoming too, because they're playing at Akron, and Nolan was rocking the Akron sweatshirt before there. So little symmetry going through there. I was talking about to someone today. I feel like the 2 biggest early season advantages, forget home field, is teams that aren't used to heat and humidity having to go to Florida or Alabama, play in the South, or teams having to go to elevation, having to go to Colorado, having to go to a place like Wyoming. I know they're on the road at Akron, but if that game was at home, you see it in the NFL a lot. Denver's record in September is phenomenal. Tomorrow night, Georgia Tech goes to Colorado. Kind of another low-key big game on the board. Georgia Tech is favored in that game by about 4 points. But again, playing at elevation, a lot of new moving parts for Colorado trying to replace Shedeur. What's your take on that game?
I love Georgia Tech. But that's a game that I didn't want to touch because obviously you have Marshall Faulk over there that's helping out that program. You have Warren Sapp helping there. But Georgia Tech has a coach, right? Coach Key, that came from the Nick Saban coaching line. He's a very, very good coach. Georgia Tech has a fantastic quarterback. Fantastic quarterback.
If you don't know about Haynes King, you got to know.
So, and Georgia Tech reminds me of sort of like the Northwesterns of the world. And basically, NIL, yes, it helps programs temporarily before these guys roll, but these other kids that are there for the education, right, that they have that continuity. And I think Georgia Tech, I think the Northwesterns of the world, and I think Georgia Tech has a fantastic program. He's selling a degree from Georgia Tech is great. Georgia Tech, I think I rated the number 1 value education in America. You know what I mean? It's got a fantastic education. So I like Georgia Tech there, but it's hard to go against Deion. I get it. But I'll tell you something else too. I really looked at that Cincinnati game with Nebraska going. I don't understand the love for Nebraska at all. Cincinnati returns like 16 starters.
Yeah, 16. Brandon Thorsby, their quarterback, is legit. He can play. He's a dual threat guy. He's experienced. They beat Arizona State last year. We saw what Arizona State, at one point, Cincinnati was 5-2 and coming off a win over Arizona State last year. Now the wheels came off. I get it. It was only Satterfield's second year there, but I'm kind of with you. I would be more surprised by a Nebraska blowout than I would be if Cincinnati won this game outright. Do you agree? Or
yeah, I think Cincinnati has a lot to prove. I think Cincinnati, again, they return about 15 to 16 starters. Nebraska, I think, returns about 10. But Cincinnati returns all of their key players. They have a coach that really wants to prove something, and Nebraska still hasn't proven anything. And then you got 65% of the public riding Nebraska too. So I think it makes sense to back Cincinnati with all their starters coming back. And people might wonder, why aren't they bigger favorites? And that's the reason why. You know?
Okay, quickly, because I want to get Scott Spreitzer in here with us. And I want to ask you a question, if you can give me kind of a truncated thing. And then I want to ask him, is there a team heading into this season that you're like, that's it, that's my sleeper, not to win the championship, not even to go to the playoffs, just a team that you know is going to be a moneymaker against the spread, just a team that you're like, you know what, this team is better than people think they are. This team is better than the market thinks. Like, I know I'm going to be able to use this team for a couple big plays or use them consistently throughout the year. Was there any team that jumped out at you that was kind of your sleeper betting team for this year?
Yeah, Delaware. Yeah, I really like Delaware, and they play Colorado next week. So I mean, Delaware plays Colorado. They play Connecticut. Delaware returns 17 to 18 starters, dude. They were not. I mean, this is their year that they open up as an FBS school, right? They open up as an FBS school. They're excited about their program. They have a coach that is, Ryan Carty's a really talented guy. They have 8. There's a reason why they perfectly timed this. They have 8 defensive starters coming back. They have about 7 offensive starters coming back too. And they are and they have all of their offensive corners that have been there several years in a row. I think that's a pretty good team. I also think, I think Texas State is a team that can be looked out for. They were 7th in offensive production the previous year too.
GJ Kinney, he runs that Tulsa offense, like what Tulsa used to be. I don't know if, about 10 years ago, if people don't remember, Tulsa was a really good underdog there in the AAC. They were a really good team in the AAC, like them in Central Florida. I remember when they ran it. So,
and they have a redshirt freshman, Brad Jackson, that he sat behind for a full year to learn that offense. You know what I mean? So I think Kinney went 8-5 in back-to-back years, and I think they have a potential to do really well this year too.
All right,
so
let's get Scott Spreitzer in here and ask him what he thinks. The question he wasn't expecting: what do you think about Delaware? What do you think about Texas State? Lenny, I know he was having some technical issues. Lenny, do we have Scott Spreitzer?
No, Scott.
No, Scott. All right.
Technical difficulties, windy in Las Vegas.
Then these people are stuck with me and Arun for another few days, which they love it. They 100% love it. Okay.
Well, the greatest underdog of all is Lenny from Detroit.
Right. I thought you were going to drop Jesus Christ in there.
I'm not going to say it,
the greatest underdog of all time, Jesus Christ.
That is a live dog. It's a very live dog.
He is a live dog.
100%. And I'm in free fall mode right now with the Michael Parsons news. So just let me be.
I mean, there's a reason why the Cowboys total was 7.5. No one expected him to do well.
I did. I gotta be completely honest with you. Earlier in the summer, I was like, I think they're a little bit undervalued. That was assuming that they had Parsons in the fold. And again, not that they were going to threaten Philadelphia or anything like this. This was back in like May and June. I think that the prevailing theory about the Cowboys heading into this year was they're one of the worst teams in the league, right? They're terrible. They're going to fall off the map. I'm like, okay, Dak is a above average competent quarterback. I like their weapons on the side. At that point, everyone on the offensive line was young but healthy. And Matt Eberflus on the defensive side. Look, he was a clown show as a head coach of my Chicago Bears, but the guy knows defense. His defenses were good in Indianapolis. His defenses, for all his game management issues, his defenses were great in Chicago. They run a similar system. It's not like he was changing from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So they had 4-3 personnel there in Dallas, and they would have had an easier schedule this year. So I'm like, you know what? I could see, 8 and 9. I could see them flirting around that. I think Washington's going to come back to earth. I think the Giants are still a mess. So at that point in the summer, I was like, I could kind of see it with Dallas. And don't forget, has not been a repeat winner in the NFC East since, I think it's like 2004, since Philly won 3 straight. So there's been 20 years of no repeat champion in the East. I'm like, maybe
they're going to really – I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're going to really miss McCarthy. And it just goes to show how little faith they have in the Dallas Cowboys, coaching staff. And I think Jerry consistently just does horrible things to it. I'll tell you another team that you might want to look at if you really want to. I'm high on Louisiana this year. The Raging Cajuns, right? The Raging Cajuns bring back, all of their offensive production, and so you have a team that has I think their offensive and defensive coordinator for the last 4 years they're returning. So
yeah, Michael DeSormo, he's been there for I want to say like 11 or 12 years. Built a real nice program there. I got to tell you, I was looking at Rice a little bit this week as an underdog.
They got a brand new coach.
Right? They do, but they're going to that triple option attack, and
they lost 84% of their offensive production.
They did, but that's good because you have a new system. Like going to the option, you need very specific players with very specific skill sets. And my only theory is, and after being in Atlanta and seeing Paul Johnson for all those years, Navy and Army these last few years, those triple option teams, man, as underdogs, like they're always kind of good getting the points. I pulled it from my card because I'm with you. There's too much newness, but mark my words that Rice in conference play, I think is going to be a team that I use once or twice just because, again, people aren't going to be used to seeing that option attack from them. And their coach runs a little bit different form.
He's a good coach.
He passes the ball a little bit more. I think his teams at Davidson passed maybe 20% of the time, 18% of the time. That's more than the normal option team. So I don't know. I think we're going to find some value with Rice as like a plus 23-point underdog in conference play. But the line wasn't big enough for me this week. Okay. What was the last game that you cut off your card? What was the game that like you thought about it, maybe even typed it up, were ready to pull the trigger on, and then we're just like, no, I can't do it?
Yeah, Wyoming.
Okay. Yep.
It was Wyoming because, I mean, a 3-9 team that ended up beating Washington State, almost beating Boise State, getting everybody else back, getting up for this game. And I think Akron Akron lost a ton of production too. So that was a game that,
Akron's is bad. Like Akron's one of those teams that's like bet against Akron is a bad bet.
I think Joe Moorhead had 2 wins, and then he had 2 wins, and then he has 4 wins, and he just lost even more talent. So I don't know how he's gotten better.
Right.
But I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. Jay Saville, again, he was 3-9. He returns his great quarterback. He returns both Sargent and Berg and Durr. He has a great receiving core, great running backs, and so it just might surprise people to be like, oh, Wyoming, 5.5-point favorite. But though they were 3-9, they could have. I mean, some of the teams they played, were top-ranked teams, and they could have beat them. So now they're on the road, and obviously that's a hungry team that they want to start out the season well.
Tell you what, I'm looking at a couple of spots that could be potentially juicy for your Wyoming Cowboys. October 4th at home against UNLV. I think we saw all we needed to see last week out of UNLV.
Oh, that was another thing too. I'm gonna surprise you. I think UNLV might end up, if Sam Houston didn't lose to Western Kentucky, I probably would have taken UNLV this week because I think they just needed a week to kind of get their bearings set. I wouldn't be surprised if they covered this week, but I just didn't like Sam Houston losing. I think 24-41 to Western Kentucky. I didn't like that. Yeah. And they were.
I don't know, man. They were ahead in that game. They were leading that game late. I think it was 24-20 going into the fourth quarter, something like that. So it was kind of a misleading.
But I told the whole world about Idaho State, though. I said Idaho State has a good coach. He was a former quarterback too, and I was like, Idaho State's not bad at all. Of course, I didn't pull the trigger. I took the over because I just expected them to exceed expectations.
Right.
So that was my active dog over, but I knew Idaho State was a good team.
Yeah, I like Wyoming because Wyoming, look at their schedule. They got a brutal opening month. They play Northern Iowa at home next week, okay, whatever. Then they play Utah. They get Utah coming to Wyoming. Someone explain that one to me. The week after that, they play Colorado. So they're going to get their asses beat up, just physically beat up by Utah and Colorado, 2 very physical teams that they're going to have to play. They're going to get a bye week, and then they have back-to-back home games against UNLV, a team that is Las Vegas is the opposite of playing at elevation, right? So they're going to have to go to Wyoming. And then they get San Jose State. And that's going to be another one of those games where San Jose State's one of the favorites in the Mountain West. I think that's going to be a big number where Wyoming will definitely be catching double digits there. So, I'm going to keep an eye on your Wyoming Cowboys. You got any final thoughts before we let you go and I wrap this shindig up?
No, I mean, if you're looking for more ugly dogs, I got a whole bunch. I think Kennesaw State might be decent this year, meaning covering.
They screwed me last year. Yep.
Yeah, meaning they could cover some big lines this year, and I think that's something to sort of keep up with. You have to look for these coaches that know how to retool and stuff like that. And I think Kennesaw State might have done a pretty decent job of that too. And I think San Jose State is actually, I mean, with that former Navy coach, I think he's quite competent too. So it'll be fun to see, man. It'll be fun to see. It'll be really fun to see what happens in the Texas.
Listen, we have been friends since before you were married. You way outkicked your coverage with your wife, by the way. She is a gem. I knew we were friends before you were married. I know if there's one thing you know, it's ugly dogs. So, and I'll just leave that. I'll leave that out there for you. Thank you very much for your time. Hey, your 7-unit play. You have a 5-unit play going tonight in one of this evening's game. If you don't want to tell me what game it is, tell me what time it is. What's your 7-unit play? When is that this weekend?
8 o'clock tomorrow.
8 o'clock on Friday. 8 o'clock.
Just kidding. 8 o'clock Saturday.
8 o'clock Saturday.
Game is 5-unit game is about to start, but the 7 units 8 o'clock on Saturday.
Boom. 7-unit game, 8 o'clock on Saturday. He's got back-to-back winning football weeks. He's going to get that 3rd winning week in a row. Would love to have you on board. Again, thank you very much for taking your time, Arun. I will talk to you soon. All right, that's it. That is the Docs Sports Football Thursday release show, party, shindig, soiree, whatever you want to call it. Greg Barnes, welcome to the party. Another new member. Hopefully you guys found that informative. As I mentioned to you guys, listen, feel free in the comments to throw out games, topics, subjects, anything that you want to know about. Every week we're going to be here when the picks go live at 6 o'clock Eastern, and I'm going to have a cadre of Doc Sports handicappers. So this is your opportunity to kind of pick their brains and find out like what we're looking at, what we're thinking about, what we think about this number. So yeah, don't be afraid to make this an interactive thing. The last thing I want to mention, I mentioned the early bird discount. I didn't mention YouTube Premium, but you can read about that and find out about that everywhere else. I mentioned about the discounted price, FB Party 15. That'll get you 15% off our already discounted $45 weekly package this week. Our 3-for-1. I should have mentioned our 3-for-1 when I mentioned our early bird schedule. When you sign up for a full season's package for anyone at Doc Sports, we give you 2 other handicappers absolutely free. You get to pick the other 2 guys that you want so you can test out. If you're not sure, if you don't want to commit to a guy for the whole year, because you're like, you know what, I like Arun Shiva, like I like what he says, I like what he's talking about, but I don't know if I want to commit to him for a full year. You don't have to. You can buy his full season's package and then pick any 2 other guys. August Young, Scott Spreitzer, Tony George, Strike Point Sports, and you can test drive those other 2 handicappers for 3 weeks, figure out whose style you like, judge them by performance, all that stuff, and then decide who to go with, or we will hook you up with like a super discount on multiple handicappers. So, all right, that's it. I'm exhausted. It has been a long 24 hours that I made these decisions. It was a lot of fun being here. I appreciate it. Tomorrow I will be on Docs Daily at 1 o'clock, and then What Are the Odds at 2 o'clock. So if you want to keep this football discussion going, like and subscribe to Doc Sports YouTube channel, and you will be alerted when those shows are on. All right, see you next Thursday. Carpe diem, and good luck.